Look at any normal human when they see a wild animal, even a dangerous one, and you will notice a bizarre behavioral glitch. A rational creature in the wild sees a massive bear and immediately engages its fight or flight response. It runs, it hides, it survives. A human, however, looks at a massive, incredibly dangerous bear and thinks, if not friend, why friend-shaped? We are the only species on the entire planet that looks at apex predators, creatures capable of ending our lives in seconds, and has the sudden, overwhelming urge to scratch them behind the ears. This is a profound biological anomaly. To understand why we do this, why we feel compelled to pet everything with fur, we have to look back at the brutal reality of our early existence. It starts with a brain that became a little too smart for its own good. In the Pleistocene era, roughly 2 million to 10,000 years ago, the rules of the wild were incredibly simple and absolutely unforgiving. Animals meant one of two things: death or dinner. There was no middle ground, no coexistence, no petting zoos. If it moved in the tall grass, it either wanted to eat you or you desperately needed to eat it to survive the winter. Our ancestors lived in a constant state of hypervigilance. The dark was full of teeth, and the daylight wasn't much safer. You didn't look at a dire wolf and think about throwing a stick for it. You looked at a dire wolf and calculated your odds of climbing the nearest tree before it tore your throat out. So, how did we go from this absolute primal terror of all other species to letting their descendants sleep on our pillows and wear little sweaters? The answer lies in a strange biological glitch that humans developed: hyperempathy. As our brains grew larger to handle complex social structures, we became hardwired to recognize and respond to specific visual cues. Big eyes, round faces, clumsy movements. These are the traits of human infants, and our brains release a flood of protective, loving chemicals when we see them, ensuring we don't abandon our exceptionally helpless babies. But this system was so powerful that it started to misfire. It started spilling over into other species. We began to look at a wolf pup or a bear cub, and our brains aggressively hit the baby button. We couldn't help it. We started seeing vulnerability and cuteness in the very creatures that were supposed to be our mortal enemies. Eventually, we weaponized this empathy. Thousands of years ago, a crucial realization happened around the campfire. We had excess meat, and the wolves lingering in the shadows were starving. The moment a brave or desperate wolf realized that the weird, hairless ape throwing scraps was less dangerous than the freezing winter, an ancient treaty was signed. We didn't domesticate wolves by fighting them. We domesticated them by feeding them. We used our empathy as a survival tool. Having a predator on your side meant early warning systems against other predators. It meant a partner in the hunt. It was a tactical alliance born of mutual benefit. But it quickly evolved into something much deeper because of what happens in our brains when we interact with them. We pet things because of a literal chemical addiction. When you stroke a dog's fur or scratch a cat under the chin, both your brain and the animal's brain release oxytocin. This is the exact same hormone responsible for maternal bonding. It lowers stress, reduces blood pressure, and creates a deep sense of trust and affection. It is essentially a chemical hostage situation. We literally drugged wolves with love, and they drugged us right back. Petting isn't just a quirky habit. It's a profound neurochemical feedback loop that allowed two entirely different species to bridge the gap of communication and fear. The physical touch is the mechanism that maintains the treaty. It's how we continually tell them we are still friends without needing a single word. But because humans are humans, this beautiful evolutionary instinct constantly misfires in the modern world. Our biological success made us dangerously arrogant. We go to national parks and try to pet wild bison, People try to hug tigers or take selfies with wild bears. Our brains see the fur, the ears, the friend shape, and the ancient primal fear that kept our ancestors alive is completely overridden by our hyperempathy. We forget that the treaty was only signed with a few specific animals. The rest of the natural world has not agreed to the terms and conditions of our oxytocin addiction. Nature is still wild, but our brains have become so soft and secure that we look at a 1,000-pound apex predator and think, I can fix him with cuddles. And then there are cats. Cats are the great exception to all the rules. We didn't really domesticate them. They domesticated themselves. When humans invented agriculture and started storing grain, we accidentally created a paradise for mice. The cats simply followed the food. They moved into our barns, acted like they owned the place, and we just accepted it. We didn't train them to hunt for us like dogs. We just looked at these small, arrogant killing machines, admired their absolute disdain for our authority, and decided to let them sleep on our faces. The cat is the ultimate proof that human empathy is blind. We will bond with literally anything that has soft fur, even if it contributes absolutely nothing to our survival other than emotional manipulation. In the end, we are an apex predator that prefers to conquer through codependency. We didn't just defeat nature, we invited it inside, gave it a silly name, and bought it a specialized diet. We took fearsome, majestic wolves, and through thousands of years of selective breeding and petting, we turned them into pugs that can't breathe properly without medical assistance. We reshaped the genetic destiny of entire species just because we wanted something to hold. This deep, unyielding need to bond with other creatures is actually a sign of our profound loneliness as a species. We sit alone at the top of the food chain, looking down at the rest of the animal kingdom, not as a king looking at subjects, but as a weird, lonely ape just trying to make friends.